Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Global Education's Virtual Expo. We've got another webinar for you tonight. This is one of our key partners and something in the university that we're very excited to sort of share and promote to you in Southern Africa. It is the University of Western Australia, a fantastic opportunity for you all to listen into and to get some insights in from Paul Buist. Paul here is one of our key partners. He looks after the region as well, and he'll be able to give you some further insights. And please put your questions, any questions that you've got, into the Q&A section or the chat box, and then we'll get to those straight after Paul's presentation. All right, so I'm just going to have a look here. We did have 72 people sign up for this webinar. Got about 11 so far that have signed in. So just give us a couple more seconds, and then I'll hand over to Paul to start this presentation. Paul, we've just got 15 people, so I think it's great we can just start and let people sort of sign in, and we go from there. So over to you, and thank you again.
Okay, many thanks. Good evening. My name is Paul Buist. I'm from the University of Western Australia. The presentation tonight will last for about 25 minutes, and after then there'll be plenty of time for you to answer questions. So let's go. I've got a short video to play to start off with. Now, I have had a few problems with this. I'm not sure about the sound, but at this point, this video is about, it'll give you an idea of what the campus at the University of Western Australia actually looks like, and where it's located. It was taken from a drone on one of our open days 2 years ago, and it gives you a great visual impact of the campus. So it only runs for about 30 or 40 seconds. Yeah, as you can see from that video, the university is located right on the banks of the Swan River. It's a really idyllic location. It's a very picturesque campus. And there's a lot of bird life and animal life on campus, and which is really popular with the students too. So first of all, just to give you an idea, Perth is located, the University of Western Australia is located in Perth, which is in Western Australia. We're in the same time zone as 1/3 of the world's population. So we're in the same time zone as all of China, parts of Russia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. So it's business-wise, it's actually a great place to do business, considering how many people live on the same time zone. It's also got direct flights from most parts of the world. So Perth is really, a good place to be. The West Coast doesn't get the recognition that the East Coast cities like Sydney and Melbourne are, but Perth is going ahead in leaps and bounds. It's probably the economic powerhouse of Australia. Perth lies in the state of Western Australia, and the state of Western Australia is the second largest state or province in the world, second only to Siberia. And most of Western Europe fits in to the land area of Western Australia. That gives you an idea of how big Western Australia actually is. Also, it's a very mineral-rich state. Most mining companies have their head offices in Perth, and they're doing a lot of mineral exploration all throughout Western Australia. Perth's population is probably about 2.6, 2.7 million people. It's the 4th largest city in Australia. It's got a very friendly population. It's a very safe environment. And also the climate is very pleasant as well. We have very hot and dry summers and milder winters where we get our rain. It's more of a Mediterranean climate. The average temperature in the Summer can be the mid-30s. In winters, probably 18, 17. We can get days, over 20 as well, 22, 23. That happens quite a bit during winter. The city of Perth itself has an excellent infrastructure, and international students, when they come to Perth, actually get concession cards so they can get discounts of up to 40% on public transport. So, and Western Australia is one of only 2 states in Australia that offer this. So, we are really welcoming for international students. Perth has more sunshine hours than any other capital city in Australia. And as you can see by the photos here, it really promotes an outdoor type of lifestyle. As you look at the photos, the one on the top right-hand corner is people down Fremantle enjoying a meal. Then we go as we go around, people enjoying the sunset on Cottesloe Beach, and then the nightlife in Northbridge. So it's the outdoor lifestyle in Perth is one of the big pluses and really distinguishes it as a city. The University of Western Australia itself has a worldwide reputation for research. We get more research grants per person than any other university in Australia, and some of the research that's going on is really cutting edge stuff. Now, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner there, that person in the picture there is Professor Barry Marshall. He won the 2005 Nobel Prize for Medicine. He detected a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, which is responsible for stomach ulcers and many of the nastiest stomach cancers. And the medical profession initially would not recognize his research because they claimed that all bacteria in the stomach were killed by stomach acids, but he proved that they weren't, and ultimately won the Nobel Prize. He was born in Kalgoorlie, did his medicine degree at UWA, has done most of his research at WA, and is still a staff member at UWA. Undergraduate students usually get, if they're doing microbiology, usually get at least one lecture from Barry Marshall during their tenure at UWA. Now, the University of Western Australia was founded in 1911. We took our first students in 1913. So we've been around over 100 years. So we've been around a long time. It's the 6th oldest university in Australia. And just this year, we've gone to a bit of a different structure. We've got rid of the faculties, and we have 22 schools responsible for different subject areas. We have schools of architecture, business, law, education, engineering, computer science, maths, physics, medicine, dentistry, agriculture, chemical and biomolecular sciences, and quite a few others. The university itself is a community of around 27,000 students, comprising of 17,000 undergraduate, 8,000 postgraduate, and about 2,000 research students. So we call ourselves a medium-sized university. We're not a super large university, but we still have quite a healthy enrolment of students. A lot of our courses have been based on the European Bologna model, which has helped students with get a globally recognised qualification. We have 5 broad undergraduate courses. We have a Bachelor of Commerce, Science, Arts and Biomedical Science, and also a Bachelor of Philosophy. Now, next year, we're actually changing this model a little bit. We're adding quite a few courses to the selection for students. We're still keeping these basic courses, but we're just changing things around a bit and making basically things, giving students more to see, more to study, and a much wider choice. We have over 70 different majors in these generic courses, generic undergraduate courses. Some of the majors are listed here. This is by no means an exclusive list, but you can see the range of majors that we offer. Now, from 2021, that's from this year, we've introduced a Bachelor of Advanced Computer Science, which has majors in artificial intelligence, computing and data science, and international cyber security. We're also introduced more bachelor degrees, automation and robotics, business, music, philosophy, politics and economics, and environmental design. And something that's really new is we've also introduced combined degrees, which combine a bachelor and a master. So in 4 years, you can get a bachelor and master's degree. And these come in economics, agricultural science, agribusiness, and so on down the list. I believe there's more of these to come in 2022, and they've proved to be very popular. Students are starting to recognise the value of these combined degrees. We also have scholarships for high-performing students. There's 4 levels of scholarship: $5, $7, $9, and $10,000. So if you're if you're a high school student in South Africa, if you average 73% in your school certificate, you'll get $5,000, and 75% you'll get $7,000, 78, 9,000, and 80% $12,000 per year. This is quite a generous scholarship, and it actually has proved to be very popular with students. It's not a scholarship where you just get once just for first year. It goes for every year of your degree. So it's something to well worth thinking about. For postgraduate students, we also offer similar scholarships. So if you average between 70 to 74.99, it's 5,000. 75 to 79 is 7,000. 80 to 84 is 9,000. Above 85 is 12,000. So we're not, whether you're doing a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, you're eligible for the scholarships. We have some, they're available for most degrees. There are some exclusions though, like medicine students, for example, are not eligible, and there's a few other degrees that are not eligible, but most degrees are eligible for these scholarships. We also have sporting scholarships, and this has also proved to spark a bit of interest amongst potential students. The scholarship levels are the same for undergraduate and postgraduate, but the difference with these scholarships is that students have to apply for them. For the Global Excellence Scholarships, students just need to submit their application to their course, and our admissions team will determine whether they're eligible or not. There's no application for the scholarship, it's automatically awarded. These ones you need to apply for, and the application is in the form of a sporting CV. So if you're a track and field athlete, for example, what you need to do is put down your summary of the events that you compete in, also a summary of your performances, any events that you've won, your best times for those events, and also how it ranks as far nationally. If you're doing if it's a local event, an international event, or an interstate event, you put that down on your CV and what your performance is. And our sports association will assess it and make a recommendation about the scholarship. Now, you can't get both the Sporting Excellence Scholarship and the Global Excellence Scholarship. It's basically one or the other, but the amounts are the same, so it doesn't matter. The benefits of the Global Excellence Sporting Scholarship are that you can get some. You get into our elite athlete program, and you get some pretty specialised coaching. You get allowances for being away from university for competition and for training purposes, And there's a whole range of things that are available to you to help your sporting performance. So if you're interested in, if you think you're a high performing sports person, please apply for the Global Excellence Sporting Scholarship. You would be required to register to play for a UWA affiliated sporting club, but you're not required to play for represent Australia. That's not part of the scholarship. You would also always be available to represent South Africa if you're at the international level. To be eligible for the Global Excellence Sporting Scholarship, you must meet Tier 3 or above of the student athlete program, which means you're an underage, an age team member, a squad member or a scholarship holder for a national body, or you play for a professional club. But there's other criteria as well and other levels. So if you think that you might be eligible, just put an application in. Now, the University of Western Australia academically is ranked in the top 100 universities in the world. And it's ranked in the top 100 universities in the world in two different ranking systems. Now, the ARWU, which is the World Ranking of Universities, has UWA 85th in the world. And also in the top 50 in a number of subject areas. And I've just listed them here. They're also in the top 100 for psychology and public health. So as you can see, there's quite a number of areas there where UWA is in the top 50 and ranked first in Australia. The other big ranking system is the QS system, and we're ranked 92nd in that. And again, top 50 in a number of different areas and top 100 in others. One of the things, there's a lot of different ranking systems, but if you're ranked highly in two different systems, you can be assured that the ranking is a genuine ranking and it's not just a fluke. The University of Western Australia is quite proud of its ranking, and a lot of it comes through our research. Also, one thing that that you may not be aware of, I mentioned before that the university is over 100 years old, and in that time we've had something like 103 or 104 Rhodes scholarships awarded to our students. So that's for them to do their postgraduate degree at Oxford University, and that's about one a year we're averaging, which is a pretty impressive number. Not too many universities can have that type of number for Rhodes scholarships. The university also has accommodation for students on campus. There's 5 residential colleges on campus. They provide either they can provide 3 meals a day, or you can purchase a separate meal package. Each room is fully furnished and internet enabled, and outside the colleges in the common areas, there's computer labs, photocopiers, recreation rooms, and there's also tutorials available for students that might need a bit more help educationally. And the colleges also organise quite a number of social and sporting activities. The campus itself, as you saw by the previous video, is a beautiful campus. It's sit on the riverbank, on the banks of the Swan River. It's only a couple of kilometres from the centre of the city. It takes about between 5 and 10 minutes by bus from the main bus port to get to the university, so it's quite close. And TripAdvisor listed the university campus as even if you're not studying, as a place well worth visiting in Perth, just to walk around the campus. That's how nice the campus actually is. One of the things we really try to emphasise is that students basically coming to the university for education purposes, but we try to emphasise the whole university experience. It's not just about education. If you have a positive experience, you're more than likely to really look back on your university days as a positive thing. We have over 100 different clubs and societies on campus, and they range from a lot of different focus. They've got a lot of different focuses. Some are sporting clubs, some are clubs based on nationality. Others are just really social things like ballroom dancing, for example, or disco dancing, or medieval culture. There's even a society for people who like to eat chocolate. So there's so much to do on campus. And joining the clubs is a great way to meet people. It's also a great way to really settle into Perth, because they quite often have social outings as well. As I mentioned before, the campus has over 27,000 students. Over 5,000 of these are international students from 110 different countries. So it's a very broad range, a very eclectic group of international students. We also have exchange agreements with a lot of different universities around the world. If you're an international student coming to UWA, you actually can go on exchange. For undergraduate students, it's usually in your second year. For postgraduate students, it's also in your second year, but usually only for one semester, where undergraduate students can go for either a semester or a year. So if you want to go to one of our partner universities in Europe or the US, that's possible, provided you keep up a credit average during your degree. So the figures we have here are for total enrolment for 2019. So we had just on 17,000 undergraduate students, 8,000 postgrad, 2,000 research. It was actually over 6,000 international students. Now, I mentioned before that the university is not that far from the CBD. So if you look in the sort of the centre towards the top, you can see the outline of the CBD there, and that's how close the university is to the city. That big green thing in the middle there is actually Kings Park, which is one of the largest urban parks in the world. So over the 100 years we've been a university, we've had quite a number of notable graduates, and just a few of those, Professor Barry Marshall, who I mentioned before, the Nobel laureate, our former Prime Minister, Bob Hawke, who was Prime Minister of Australia from 83 to 91. He was a graduate of the University of Western Australia. Dr. Bodiono, who was a former Vice President of Indonesia. Sean Tan, who won an Oscar for Best Short Feature at the Academy Awards a few years ago. Sir Rod Eddington, a CEO of British Airways. Lee Hunter, who used to work for YouTube. Elizabeth Shaw, who was once Australia's youth representative to the United Nations. Simon Kadich, a former Australian Test cricketer, is also a graduate of the University of Western Australia. So you can see by that list, our graduates have sort of made impacts in a number of different fields. That shows you the broad range of education that the University of Western Australia can offer. I have a video here of Professor Barry Marshall. George, with the previous video, could you hear the music soundtrack?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all good.
Okay. So just.
The sound on this one's not working, Paul. The sound on this one isn't working.
Not working, okay.
Not on this one.
Okay, sorry about that. Apparently the sound's not working, which is unfortunate. Now, the University of Western Australia, just to finish off, it is a top 100 university, but we're a very accessible university. We pride ourselves in our standards, but we also pride ourselves in the fact that we're not exclusive. If you meet the academic requirements, we're more than happy to have you. We have, I've got this website about meet us in your country. Unfortunately, we can't do that at the moment because we can't travel. But we still do events like this throughout the world. So if you contact Global Education, they will certainly be able to tell you how to get in contact with us. And I'm also available to ask any questions for students who want more information about the university. If you wish to apply to the University of Western Australia, again, if you go through Global Education, they're more than happy to help you with your application, and also help you with your visa requirements once the borders reopen, which hopefully will be soon. So I'd like to thank you all for your attention to the presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. I'll just leave this slide up for a minute if you want to get the Facebook and LinkedIn or the email links. So, but thank you again for your attention, and hopefully what you've heard today will help you make up your mind to at least investigate the University of Western Australia further as an international education alternative. Thank you.
Paul, thank you so much for that. It was interesting to see the changes and the new aspects that the University of WA is looking to bring into Perth. We've got a couple of questions of students flying into the chat box here, so I'll read them out in a little bit. But I wanted to ask you specifically about the support structure and like employability and sort of how UWA students look for work and how it supports the students, whether it's creating a CV and networking. That was always sort of my exposure to UWA with my colleagues and friends that went to UWA was, the amount of support that they got in terms of business interactions was just very impressive, and especially the types of businesses that are involved. You mentioned the key major mining companies all having head offices here in WA. So we'd love for you to just go elaborate a little bit more into that.
Yeah, we have a careers section on campus, and it's available for students who, or actually, I should wind back a bit. What I should say first of all is, and I neglected this in the presentation, is that students who graduate with a bachelor or a master's degree are entitled to a post-study work visa in Australia. So you can stay on after your degree to work. Now, if you study at the University of Western Australia, you're actually entitled to a 3-year rather than a 2-year post-study work visa. So it's really helpful to have something on campus to help students if they're intending to stay on and work after their degree. It's helpful to have something, a section that actually helps you find a job. We have a careers section on campus. Now, what our careers section do, it's multifaceted. They can help you with a CV. They can help you actually determine what type of job you're actually looking for. This is a little bit more complicated than what it sounds, because students, when they finish their degree, they might decide, okay, they might have a degree might have a Bachelor of Commerce with a major in accounting. Does that mean they want to be an accountant? Well, not necessarily. There are other opportunities as far as jobs concerned that are related to the accounting area, but they're not actually accounting jobs. And some of the big companies in Perth are always looking for people with business degrees. Even mining companies looking at the financial arm of the particular company. Now, what the careers section do, not only do they help you with your CV, help you with your interview techniques, but they're also, a lot of these companies come on campus to give seminars. So you can actually see what they're all about. They'll give you a description of the company and what type of jobs might be on offer. They actually won't offer you a job there and then. The jobs are by competitive interview, but they give you a good idea of the types of job and how, what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis. And our careers centre then help you with your CV, and help you with your application as well, and also help you get that really important interview that's going to give you the job. So there's a number of things that our careers centre do as far as support for students who are about to go out into the workforce.
Yeah, no, it's such an important look back at my own degree, and I think being in Perth, with the way Perth is set up with its resources, one thing I wish I took advantage of was really networking using those career structures. And I employ any student that's looking at studying in any country in the world. Go after those support things and really look at them. They really are a point of difference trying to study.
Yeah, indeed.
About visas and with the graduate skill visa at the end there, with the pandemic and COVID happening, Australia's still taking students and allowing them to start studying online from abroad. Is UWA doing something like that, or is it all waiting for once things open up? Could you go a bit into that?
It goes beyond UWA. The government has actually made an allowance that if students start their degrees online, then that study time will be counted towards their degree, or and they can still get a post-study work visa should the borders open up. I think you have to study at least a year in Australia in order to get the visa. But yes, it will be available. The government has realised COVID, this situation is quite unique, and yes, they will make the allowance and allow students to count some of their online study towards their qualification for the visa.
Yeah, certainly. There's actually quite a few questions that are coming in here. We had one more question from some students that couldn't join this webinar that emailed our team, and they were asking about life at UWA and in Perth. The biggest, my biggest response to any question about life in Perth and UWA is balance. You've got such a balance of the lifestyle here. The beaches are so close, the most pristine anywhere in the world, and then you've got the fast pace of the city as well, the interactions. You mentioned Northbridge being, the entertainment area. What's one thing you would like to tell students that are looking for that, what's it like to study in Perth?
You mean what's it like, the life like in the city of Perth itself?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, what you mentioned there is quite true. Now, Perth offers, I think, some unique lifestyle choices. 20 years ago, Perth wasn't the city it is today. It's now a very cosmopolitan city. If you're interested in good food, for example, there's always the Beaufort Street strip, where quite often students go for to get to eat some of the to eat at some of the good restaurants, and there's restaurants of most nationalities there. So it's if you want Thai food, if you want Chinese, if you want Italian, you can get it all there. And it's not, again, it's walking distance to the city. So that's another thing. Everything seems to be a little bit compact in Perth. It's actually quite easy to get to most things. If you go down to Fremantle, it's got some of the best seafood restaurants in the country. Also, walking around Fremantle, looking at some of the old buildings, you get a glimpse back in time, I suppose. And it's just a fun place to walk around. If you go to the north of the city, there's quite a few wineries up in the Swan Valley, which are great to visit. They all have great restaurants, and it's again just a nice place to be. You mentioned the beaches. They're literally 15 minutes from the city. You've got Oceanfront Beaches. Now, in Australia, there's only two capital cities that have oceanfront beaches, Perth and Sydney, and they're quite different. The Perth beaches are long and open, whereas the Sydney beaches tend to have the big headlands. So the topography of them is very different, but the enjoyment is exactly the same. So yeah, there's quite a lot to offer. No matter what you're looking for as a student, there's so many activities that happen on a daily basis, and no matter what you're looking for, you can find it in Perth, and you can find it quite easily. And you're not going to have to travel sort of 100 miles to get anywhere. the transport and the way the city's laid out, it's actually quite easy to get to pretty much everything. So yeah, life in Perth is very good. I was born in Sydney and raised in Sydney and moved to Perth 13 years ago, and I got no intention of moving back to Sydney. I'm going to be staying in Perth. So no, it is a fantastic place to live, and there's plenty to do for students.
Yeah, it really is. I've got a question here, and so it's a course-specific question for you. So we'll see if we can answer it. And to anybody that's got any course-specific questions, please do reach out to us. I will be sending everybody's contact details with the full information list. So please do reach out to Global, and we'll get you in touch with Paul, and we can have those one-to-one conversations. So Tamsika Naidu is asking here, what are the requirements for submissions into architecture, and when is the ideal date to send through an application?
Okay, now our architecture degree is a 5-year degree, which is split up into a 3-year bachelor's and a 2-year master's. The qualification is it's an ATAR of 80, which is the local qualification, which basically translates to about a 60% average of your best 6 subjects at school, not including life orientation. So we have 2 semesters per year, February and July, and you can commence in either. If you wish to commence in February, we would suggest you get your application in by the start of November. If you wish to start in July, the start of April would be the best time to put your application in. Now, there's no subject prerequisites for architecture. It's a good idea if you have mathematics, but it's not compulsory. The other thing which is good to have is if you've done either art or technical drawing. One thing about architecture, I was speaking to an architect not that long ago about skills that students, that are helpful to students doing architecture. And he said the thing you got to remember about architecture, it's all about getting an idea that's in your head onto a piece of paper in a way that other people can see what you're thinking. So if you've got artistic skills, if you've got technical drawing skills, again, it's not compulsory, but it's really, really helpful so that it gives you that form of expression so that people can actually see the concept that you're trying to get across. So these skills are very important. They will be developed while you're in the course, but if you come into the course with them already, it's such an advantage.
Yeah. Another question here, and this one might be a bit too big, but let's see if we can answer it. They want to know a little bit more about medicine and studying medicine at UWA from an undergrad straight through. So if you want to go a little bit into that.
Our medicine degree is postgraduate, so you need to do a bachelor's degree first. Now, there's 2 different pathways that by which you can do medicine. The first one is what we call our direct pathway, and the second one is what we call our graduate pathway. Now, the direct pathway is a pretty long application process, and it starts while you're still at school. Before the 31st of May in each year, say if you want to study medicine for 2022, before the 31st of May, you would need to do an ISAT test. And also you need to have your application in by the 31st of May. Now, what happens is that if you do well in the ISAT test and you average approximately 75% in your high school, in your best 6 subjects, you'll be given an interview. These interviews used to take place in person, but I understand that they now do them online just because of the COVID situation. And after the interviews, students are ranked. Now, we have 20 places for international students in the direct pathway. So the students are ranked and the top 20 are given offers. Now, when you get into the direct pathway, what it means is that you go straight into our Bachelor of Biomedical Science for 3 years. You do integrated clinical medicine as a major. If you continue, if you get a 65% average, which is a credit average, through the bachelor's degree, you have no more exams to do. You go straight into the MD. Now, the MD will be of 3-year duration, so it's a 3+3 degree. If you miss out on the direct pathway, you're still eligible to apply for the graduate pathway. The graduate pathway is where you do a bachelor's degree, and it can be any bachelor's degree, but most students will still do the biomedical science, majoring in either microbiology or biochemistry or anatomy or physiology, something of a clinical basis. You need an average of 65%. And in your final year, you need to do, before the 31st of May, you need to do an MCAT test. If you do well in the MCAT test, you'll be interviewed. And in the graduate pathway, we have only 10 places for medicine. Now, the thing is that this will then be a 4-year MD. So the graduate pathway is a 3+4 degree. The direct pathway is a 3+3 degree.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just writing your responses last night. I've got another question here from a gentleman called Gedav, who I believe is a domestic student, Australian, studying in South Africa.
Yep.
They would like to apply. I believe they're finishing their last year of high school this year, and they'd like to know what deadlines should they expect to start studying in 2022.
Okay, you would need to contact our admissions section directly, because the application procedure for domestic students is quite different than it is for international students. So if you email admissions@uwa.edu.au, they will get back to you with the process of what you need to do.
And to everybody listening in as well, please do email us. My email address is george@global-education.co.za. I will put it in the chat box for everybody. Please visit the website. We'll put you in touch directly with universities. That's one of the good things with Global, is we represent a huge variety of universities, but we really cater to you on a one-to-one level. It's not a big corporation that you deal with real people. And we get the likes of Paul in front of you, who's giving out the admissions contact details. And these are real insights and real assistance to you as well. So please do take note of the information that Paul's giving out. Paul, I'm just going through the questions here, and I'm seeing if we've got any others from the students. I think we've answered quite a few here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one more. What is the top sport at UWA?
Good question. I'm assuming you're talking about the sporting scholarships here. There's quite a number of sports that UWA compete in at a very high level. Rugby and cricket are always popular in South Africa, I know, and certainly we have a rugby team that is in our first grade of our local competition, and they're actually one of the feeder teams for the Western Force. The cricket, we have teams in the local district competition. There's also hockey, where UWA is probably the biggest hockey club in Australia, and we produced probably one of the greatest hockey players of all time in Rick Charlesworth. But also swimming, athletics, rowing. The campus is right on the river, and our boat shed is literally just across the road from the university, and every morning you can see the rowers out on the river. Basically, most sports we have an active participation in. Our netball, we have a link with the Western Fever, who are in the national competition, but many other sports as well. So yeah, the list is probably too long to go through. We also have just recently had a number of students interested in Taekwondo, and we have a big Taekwondo club as well.
And one of Australia's best judo clubs in Australia as well.
Yes.
I just learned that
Yes.
the other day, which is impressive to see some Olympic athletes coming out of Western Australia in that field. One thing I want to mention. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, I was going to say there's also tennis and golf as well. So there's both individual and team sports that we actually have big participation in.
Perth's such an outdoor city as well. It's such a big focus in the outdoor lifestyle here, and it goes to show, just looking at our multiple sports stadiums. We've got the Perth Arena that's in the city. We've got the Wacker, the cricket ground as well, which is close on the other side of the city, on the east side of it. And then you've got the, which was awarded the world's best sporting venue globally, out of the highest architecture awards in the world, and it was given to our Optus Stadium, which is on the way into the city. And if you have time to Google tonight, please just Google Optus Stadium and just have a look at the visual effects of this. It is absolutely incredible, and it's a testament to Perth. People want that lifestyle, and Perth has it.
Yeah, glad you mentioned Optus Stadium. It's only 2.5, 3 years old, and it has won quite a number of awards. Perth had a need for a big stadium. We didn't have anything that held anything over 45,000. Optus holds a bit over 60,000, and in comfort, and everyone's got a good seat. It's a fantastic stadium. I've been there a number of times.
Yeah. Just last question for people to understand how we were affected with the pandemic. A lot of students ask me, as I'm based in Perth, what was it like here? And I have to be honest, we had such a great following and listening to our state officials. And none of us wear masks. I think we had 5 days of masks. We had a quarantine period. Could you go a little bit into how we actually handled that here in WA?
Yeah, I was actually in South Africa when the COVID situation started, and I was actually lucky to be able to get back to Australia very quickly. When it first started, like everywhere else, we had isolation, but it didn't last that long. Within sort of 2 months, things were already starting to get back to normal, and we've been really fortunate the way it's been handled. We've had one community outbreak in the last 11 months, which is amazing. And people have been living sort of normal lives for at least the last 8 months, with the exception of international travel. Everything else has been fine. Our state premier has even shut the borders to other states at one point to keep Western Australians safe, which worked remarkably well. Australia as a whole, the infection rate is actually quite low. International visitors and local people returning to Australia have to isolate for 2 weeks, and before they can actually go home or resume sort of any type of normal life. But this has actually worked quite well and kept the community safe as far as the COVID spread is concerned. Yes, we've had a couple of outbreaks in other states. There's been a couple in Victoria and Queensland, and one in New South Wales. But on the whole, these have been brought under control really quickly. And as a result, our sporting events, last night, the start of our football season, and there was 50,000 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. And that just goes to show you how little community spread there is for this disease, because in a lot of countries, they won't allow that type of crowd to get together. But it's come at a cost, and that has been that we had to isolate initially for quite some time to get to that situation. But we have, and we're getting the benefits for it now. So when we can actually open our borders, I don't know what the circumstances will be. Students may have to isolate for a while, but they can, once they get into the community, you can be assured that it's going to be safe. That's what the government and all the state premiers have been aiming towards.
No, great. And Paul, I don't want to end on a COVID note, as we're all constantly listening to it as well. I do thank you so much for your time and to present to us at 1:30 in the morning now, almost going on almost 2:30 over here. So we do thank you. We know you're still presenting for the rest of the morning to other parts of the world. So
Yep.
wish you good luck on that. And for anybody that wants to get in touch with Paul, please reach out to us directly. The contact details are on the presentation here as well. You know where to find Global, globaleducation.co.za, and please do reach out and get the right information, the right facts, and get the right service, especially in looking to travel overseas as well during this time. So have a great evening. And Paul, any last words from you?
George, I'd like to thank you for organising this and to thank Global Education. I've been associated with Global for a long time now, and I've always enjoyed my association and my trips to South Africa to visit. So hopefully that can start again soon. But just a final word to any student thinking of applying to UWA, please get onto our website and have a look at what's on offer and try and get a feel for what you'd like to do, the courses we have to offer. Get onto a website about Perth and have a look at the lifestyle in Perth. It's not just about UWA, it's about living in Australia, it's about living in Perth. Have a look at it. Australia's a very welcoming country, and Perth is a very safe, warm and welcoming city as well. So I'd like to thank you all for your time today, and hopefully, I've been able to give you some information that's going to help you in your future career.
Right. Awesome, everybody. We've got one more question, Paul.
Yep.
Oh, it's a thank you. Thanks, Yadav. Really appreciate
Okay.
that. And we look forward to seeing you in Perth one day.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, George.